Alright my friends, how you all doing, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a fresh episode of our Planet Zoo series, Hyland Zoo. And today is episode 30, which can mean only one thing: this is a Zoo So Far episode. Now before I get into that, my friends, I do just want to bring to your attention a couple of things. The first one is, you'll find the link above now, my friends, to last episode where this zoo is concerned. Do go check that out. It's a good watch, it's a good episode, and we sort of talk about a few things in the episode as well about the zoo going forward. We've actually got some protesters going in the zoo. This is why I don't have the zoo gates open. There's just too much crap going on at the moment. It's been very, very glitchy, the game, since the new DLC. I've noticed a lot of problems, and we've had a few patches where that's concerned since. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is that we do have a brand new Planet Zoo series on the channel currently. It is a community build, ladies and gents, that all of you guys have been getting involved in. It's been amazing, and the first official episode went out last week, so I will link that above for you as well, my friends. Do go and check that out, do go and give it a watch. I will just throw it out there now that the polls are officially closed, so don't worry about voting anymore. The votes have been tallied up, they've been taken, and will be pushed on into the next episode, which I'm hoping will be out on Sunday. Now to today's episode. As I've already said, today is a Zoo So Far episode, which does mean that we usually go in and we take a look at the zoo, but I'm going to combine that today, ladies and gents, not only with us taking a look at the zoo, but discussing bits of the zoo, things that need doing, things that need improving. I've been reading through the comments. I want to reply to your queries. I want to bring up some of the suggestions you've made for the zoo as well, and we're going to talk about that today. And we're also going to talk about potentially how many episodes I see left in the project. And the reason I say that, ladies and gents, is because not only have I already started a new series on the channel, but I am now starting to look towards another Sandbox series, another series where the creative juices can be allowed to flow, a lot like they have with this, but basically put everything that I've learned into the new series. It's funny how in the space of a few months since the game was released, that your build style changes, that you get better at the game, and that you really start to look at bits of this zoo and think that looks very, very old. I wouldn't do it that way, again, and so it's really interesting. So I am now starting to think about new projects, and so we need to talk about that, and we need to address the elephant in the room where Hyland Zoo is concerned. So let's take a look at the zoo, let's discuss things, but yeah, it is going to be a little janky. There's a lot going on. Something I am actually going to do. I know it's nice to have the guests in the zoo, but I am actually going to close it because the guests are one of the big contributing factors to the frame rate dropping where this zoo is concerned, ladies and gents. It really, really is. When there's not many guests in here, there's not too many problems. So yeah, let's just throw the guests out, shall we? Let's close the gates and give you guys a VIP tour. So, yeah, obviously, we have the entrance, ladies and gents. We're not going to bother talking about this. This is all stuff that we know about. But what we are going to be talking about, as I've said, are all the areas that need to be sorted out, and, potentially the animals that we're going to be putting in the zoo, and the comments and queries and stuff that you have been bringing up. Now, I would like to get Hyland Zoo finished up in the next 10 episodes, so that by the time we get to episode 40, we will have this zoo in a place where I can then stick it on the Steam Workshop. One of the big questions that I get asked by a few people is, will this zoo be on the Steam Workshop? And one that gets asked a lot that is a little bit annoying is that someone wanted this put on the Steam Workshop at every 10th episode. It's just not doable. It becomes a bit of a pain. It clogs things up, and unfortunately I just don't have the time to be spending doing that. Like a lot of questions have been asked about me putting stuff on the workshop, and I don't tend to do it because I don't really tend to have the time. When I come in and build, I like to dedicate my time to building, getting the zoo sorted. But by the time we get to episode 40, I would really like to have this zoo in a position where it's finished, it can go on the Steam Workshop, and then you guys can take a proper walk around, you guys can enjoy it, and if you so wish, you can start to edit it and add to it. End of the day, there's going to be plenty of room up here for you guys to add, and down the side here as well, should you so wish. Because obviously this road here is our perimeter. I kind of brought that up in last episode. So with that in mind, 10 episodes to go essentially after today's episode. I've got 9 episodes to build. So people have been throwing their suggestions at me, been throwing their animals at me, making some very good suggestions as well, it has to be said. And so I kind of feel like I know where I'm at and what I want to do with the zoo to get it finished. I really, really do now. I think I'm very, very prepared. At the end of the day, we were never going to place every animal in this zoo. I didn't kind of look at it that way. It was never going to be that big a project. The zoo would have to be absolutely massive. I know a lot of people have tried to place every animal in a square and have really, really struggled as well. So that might be a challenge for another day. But so let's come to the first comment that you guys have brought up with me, and let's talk about that. So this area here, after last episode, I obviously brought up the fact that I was thinking about putting the capuchins in here and putting the chimpanzees in here. Now, a couple of really good comments come my way. I really, really appreciated both, and they made very, very good points. They said that we already have, the gorillas. We already have the mandrills, so that's 2. If we put the capuchins and the chimps in, that's 4 of the sort of monkeys and apes variety, which they feel was a lot, considering we only have like 1 big cat, we only have like 1 bear, and actually it was a very good point. Now, one of them went on a little bit further and actually said, why don't we put the capuchins in here? Because they are a new DLC animal, it's always nice to see, the new animals in the zoo. So why don't we put the capuchins in there like we said we were going to, put the staff quarters here, try and maybe build like a walkway over, and then we could disguise the walkway and stuff with some nice foliage and whatever. And then in this section here, rather than putting the chimps, put a really nice lake. Now the thing is, that works in really, really nice where this zoo's concerned. Obviously, the original idea and project was based on a country park that is close to where I live, and there are a few lakes on that country park, so it actually works in really, really nice. So a change of plan where this area is concerned is that we are going to put the capuchins in here, and we're actually going to be putting a lovely lake in here. We're going to do some nice foliage, and I might even try to do the capuchin sort of like house sort of back here to kind of use up some of this area rather than it being in the enclosure, so that we can really do loads of climbing and make it really interactive, their sort of enclosure. I think it'd be really cool, and we're kind of going to use this rock here as the line, so to there, so it'd be a nice sort of like pizza shaped enclosure, that will be the capuchins there. We're going to put a lake in here. So that was the first thing that people brought up, and it was a fantastic idea, and I really, really appreciated it. And it's actually some food for thought, basically. Sometimes it is nice for you guys to stick the brakes on for me and help me out a little bit. Really, really appreciate that. So and if you haven't seen last episode, this is of course our new anteater enclosure. It's looking very, very nice. I'm sure we can all agree. I've not touched it since last episode. It still obviously needs a few little bits and bobs finishing off in there. I haven't done any of this back here because obviously I want to do the capuchins first. What other stuff did people bring up that obviously we need to do? The big one was over here and what to do with this area. Obviously there's been a lot of talk about the red panda being put in over here, and I think that is what's going to happen. Now the thing with the red panda is we're not going to be doing it so that it goes across the path here. Instead, I think I am just going to do a very generic sort of red panda exhibit in this space here, and then I'm going to save that idea for my next project, because my next project I want to really sort of like delve outside the box and really try to make stuff outside my comfort zone. So that's what I'm going to do there. So we're actually going to put the red pandas in this area here. Now obviously we're going to have a hard shelter here for capuchins potentially, if we can make that work. If not, the hard shelter will end up in the enclosure, but it does leave a big area here. Now this is a backstage area, and obviously I wanted to put the capuchins here to keep with the backstage area for that over this side, but like I say, we're gonna have to wait and see if we can make that possible. So yeah, obviously we've got all this area here to try and fill in. Now I'm thinking that potentially we stick a small restaurant in here, and then just really go heavy on the foliage, a bit like we have here and here, just to really sort of like fill areas in basically, and I think that would be quite nice. And then that kind of ties up this area. That's my thinking. Let me know in the comment section what you think of that, my friends. Also, we now need to come on to the rhinos and the elephants. Now, I still need to finish all of this off. Now, I was going to do a big statue type thing, but I think actually I'm just going to do a flower bed. I'm going to use this edge in here to really, sort of round off all the edges to really disguise this ugliness. And we'll sort of round it all off, and we'll stick a nice like flower bed in the middle, just to make it really pretty, beautify it a little bit. I don't think it needs much more than that. And then obviously we will finish all of this off here. And then as far as the elephants are concerned, they just need to be put in. They're going to have an enclosure that's going to be quite large because they are a very large animal. And then once they're in, we can really just sort of beautify all that up. So really, if we're looking at this, that's probably one episode. That's probably episode 2. That could be episode 3. So we essentially have... we have 6 to go because episode 40 will be a look at the zoo finished. So that's 3 episodes. Obviously, there's work that needs doing in this zoo, and we'll come to that right at the end of today's episode. Really, what I want to cover at the beginning is talking you over what's going to happen. This is a very strange zoo so far episode, I know, because usually we jump in and we look at the animals and we enjoy all that stuff. And we are gonna as we go along, but obviously this is more sort of covering bases on how the series is going to get tied up. And not only that, but covering all of your suggestions, because you've been making some very, very good ones recently. Now, over this area, I have left this open here because of because we were trying to differentiate Africa from the rest of the zoo. Now, we were going to put an insect house in here, but I've been very unhappy with every attempt that I've made at insect houses on this bloody game. Excuse my French, but I really have. I just haven't been able to create anything that I think looks nice and looks realistic enough. And so I think the insect house is something I'm going to save for my next project. I don't think we're going to put one in this zoo. My biggest problem with the insect house is that I think that the exhibit boxes are just far too big for the insects and are ugly. And I think that you can get away with it to some extent with the reptiles. Not only have I done it in this zoo, but I've done it in my new project as well. I think you can get away with it a little bit. But with the insects, I just think they're smaller animals and they just don't need boxes that big. And it's something that, in my opinion, Frontier need to look at and give us 3 different sizes. I think we should get a small, a medium, and a large. And that's an idea I'm actually going to put forward on Frontier's forums and see if it's something that they can explore. Because until they do so, the insects just look crap, in my opinion. Now, I've had a go at disguising the exhibits with pieces, and you can do that to some extent. You can just do little windows and whatever. So it looks good, but essentially from a gameplay point of view, if you want to look at the animals, it doesn't. So I'm a bit 50-50 where that's concerned. So to cut a long story short, and my frustration short, we're not going to be putting insect house in here. So what I am thinking of doing now is putting an African animal in here. Some people might not like that because obviously this is the visitor centre and we've got this here. But if we don't put an African animal in here, because we have separated it to some extent, what do people think about us potentially putting llamas in here and deer? Sorry, not deer, llamas and the sheep, and having our play sort of like, we were talking about doing a like farmyard section. How about we do that farmyard section here? I think it's enough space. I think we could get a couple of llamas, a couple of sheep, potentially get, the tortoise that we haven't got. I think we could fit it in here. I think we could make it work. So do let me know in the comment section what you think of that. I've already put a line here to kind of separate it. We could just take the fence to there, and we could even, carry the plants there to really separate that up. But what do people think of potentially putting the sort of farmyard there? I think it would work nice because you've not only got your sort of education centre there, you've got a playground there. Obviously, there's, a little outside seating area to eat. You've got toilets. I just think it's a nice location for it. So, yeah, let me know what you make of that. That would be an episode on itself. We would just do a farmyard on itself. It wouldn't be dedicated to any particular animals. And then after that, ladies and gents, really moving into the sort of bare bones of the end of the zoo is, basically Project Africa and getting this finished up. Now, obviously, I think that we do have room for one more Asian animal. Obviously, red panda there. We're going to do the Asian elephants. We could potentially do another Asian animal. Now, someone did mention the giant panda, which could potentially fit in here quite nicely, but I might save the giant panda for my next project. I'm going to go real big for the next project, so I might save that for that. And for all I know as well, the community zoo, the panda could end up in there, because the community zoo, you're picking the animals, you're picking absolutely everything where that's concerned. I'm having no say in that project, so it could end up in there. But I'm going to hold off for this one. So, because we don't have another cat, I am thinking about potentially the tiger, the Bengal tiger over here as well. If we were to draw sort of like an invisible line here, I guess that would be the end of Asia there, and then all of this area up here is going to be dedicated to Africa. I want to get a couple of smaller sort of enclosures here. I want to try and get one in here, and then I want to do a big one here. So, I think that then, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's it. That would basically finish it off. So, yeah. That's kind of where I'm thinking. Obviously, we're going to do a big safari type exhibit here. That's going to have the giraffes, the zebras, potentially, like the gazelle, maybe even some wildebeest. They're going to have a lot of animals in that enclosure, and it's going to be like a safari type enclosure. We're going to do a raised viewing platform on it. We're going to do a lower one, and obviously you're going to have the restaurant one, and we're going to also turn this into sort of like a little viewing area on the outside as well, because there's going to be multiple viewing platforms for it. And then we're going to come up here. Potentially I'm thinking about doing the hyenas in here, because nobody does the hyenas on this game, and I think that they deserve a place in this zoo. And then over here, someone made a point of saying that the cheetahs wouldn't do very well next to the lions, so we're not going to do the cheetahs in this zoo. Instead, I think I'm going to do an exhibit sort of like potentially here. Not sure what animal in there, and then obviously one up here. We could do the wild dog. I had this idea of doing a very long and thin exhibit, and it being called like the wild dog run. So we could do the wild dogs there, and that's kind of my thinking for the zoo and how we're going to finish it up, ladies and gents. So basically, let me know in the comment section what you've made of that. Now to the other bits and bobs. Here we go. This is obviously the entrance. I don't think the entrance really needs touching, ladies and gents. I think the entrance is still pretty nice. Maybe potentially just needs guttering put on. I've realised that something I didn't do in this zoo, even though we were aiming for realism, is put guttering on anything, and I really should have done that. But yeah, I don't really think it needs touching too much. We come through here, we just need to complete the planting. We just need to throw in a bunch of flowers, basically, and then we are done and dusted. And I think the entrance is still stands up, actually. I think the entrance is all right. I don't mind the entrance at all. Then we come through here. We've got this shop and this shop. We don't need to touch them. They're fine, but we do need to finish this up. One of the big things we need to do is we need to either put some planting in here or a little statue or something and finish that up. We need to probably finish all the top off of this just to give it that little finishing touch and that little bit of detail. And then just need to add a few more signs to that, and we are done there. This fence along here is going to get deleted. I really don't like it, and we're going to put in a different fence. Probably we're going to put in this fence to match it. Just prefer the colour, basically. Then we come up here, ladies and gents, and we do need to do some work up here. Bit of planting. We need to do a please come again sign, and then we need to finish up all the planting in there. I'm going to rip the roof off of this and redo it, because since the minute that I made this roof, I've detested it. And this is one of those things that you realise as you go along and as you build stuff, you just grow out of things and you just get better at things, and I just think I could do that roof a lot better, basically. We work our way around here. This area is pretty much done. I don't really need to touch this area. It's very nice, it's very lush, it's everything that I wanted it to be, and it's pretty much done, so we don't really need to touch this area. It's nice to actually have a part of the zoo that is completely finished. We come here, we're probably just going to throw in a few more sort of trees and stuff in this section to complete that. Need to do some planting in here, need to do the planting in here, and then that back lot area is actually finished as well, which is really, really nice to be able to say. I'm not going to touch this. This is the main hub for the staff, but I'm not going to touch it. I think it looks very, very nice. I think it's stood up very, very well. The original car park isn't getting touched, but I do need to complete these 2 car parks as well. This is all going to be stuff I potentially do behind the scenes. I am in the midst of setting up my Twitch again and getting it all up to date, and if I can get that done, some of this might get done live on Twitch, so keep that in mind. If you don't follow me, you can find it in the description box to do so. So yeah, we just need to finish all that car park up and detail that. If we work our way up here, obviously then we get into sort of like Africa, the backstage area. This backstage is done pretty much. The bit that isn't done is this backstage. This needs so much work. I had to add some more buildings, so we need to finish those buildings off. We need to work on this big time. We need to get all this floor covered. We need to remove this path here and replace this with staff path as well, because I've noticed the guests have been walking up here. And then yeah, we need to get all the fencing in. Just so much work to be done. All this needs doing. All this needs doing. All this needs sorting out. I was going to put a big sort of like statue in there, and obviously I can't touch these areas until the bits and bobs are in, so we can kind of ignore that, work our way over here. This is still needing to be finished, ladies and gents. Loads of planting and foliage. This fake path needs to go all the way up. We need to finish the fence off. We need to take the perimeter fence basically all the way to here and up, and then down, and to connect over this side, and then all this space at the back is just going to get filled in with trees basically, to really just make it look really lovely and lush. But this backlot area still needs finishing. It's just all of those little details that really bring it to life is what needs doing, and once it's done, I think the zoo will look nice. It's funny though, isn't it, how you look at things. Like I look at the reptile house now, for instance. Oh Jesus, what have I done? What have I done? I don't actually know what I've done. Oh, that might be what I've done. What an idiot. Yeah, it's funny how you look at the reptile house, for instance, and I go inside and I just think, oh God, it looks so dated. When I look at the reptile house I've just done in my new series, and then I look at this, yeah, I'm not sure, but this was our first ever Planet Zoo series, so there was always going to be little bits and bobs that weren't going to totally be that brilliant, but we've managed to make it work, and I still think the zoo has stood up the test of time. So if this isn't the sort of Zoo So Far episode you were hoping for, I do apologise, ladies and gents, but I just wanted to address some stuff that you had brought to my attention, and I just wanted to talk to you guys about where I see the series going, how I want to get it sort of tied up, get it finished, and so on and so on, basically. But yeah, that's it for today's episode. I hope you like the sound of my ideas. I hope I hope you appreciate that I have taken your comments on board, and that we're going to change a few things up. I can't get every animal in this zoo. I hope you completely understand that, and do please get involved in the comment section and let me know what you think of my ideas for the zoo going forward, and that we're going to get this finished. Now, one thing I am going to ask of you guys is please start getting your comments in for ideas on the next zoo. Now, obviously, I want to go big. Don't go big, go home and all that stuff. I really want to go big on the next project. Realism. Again, I'm going to try to really sort of like even stick to the ADA standards of the zoos on the next project. Yeah, do get your ideas on what sort of theme you would like to see, what biome you would like it in, what sort of part of the world, and then we will go from there, my friends. But if you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button. There's lots and lots of Planet Zoo content coming to the channel. Hit a like if you've enjoyed today's episode, and my friends, make sure you're hitting that bell notification button so you never miss an episode on the channel. You'll find all of my links to my socials, my Discord, and my Twitch channel, all that stuff in the description box. But until next time, my friends, you make sure you're staying extra, and I'll see you real soon.